Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Herriman City Safety Enforcement Area Truth and Taxation meeting tonight. It is Wednesday, August 12th. We're just after 6 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. We're going to jump right in tonight with a public hearing. This will be conducted in person and online and in writing. So this is a public hearing in consideration of a resolution adopting a property tax rate that exceeds the certified tax rate. So we'll go to Kyle.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to discuss this item with you tonight. So the agenda for my portion of the presentation before the public hearing is going over the basics of property tax in the state of Utah, reviewing the property tax philosophy for the HCSEA, which I will abbreviate as HCC, which also means the Herriman City Safety Enforcement Area. Review the certified tax rate that's been calculated by the county auditor, and then what staff's recommendation is for the rate, and then of course the public hearing, any discussion, and then potential board action. So first going just over the basics, and I know the board has heard this many times, but we may have people online that have not heard this before and necessarily understand how property tax works in the state. So the first major component is what's called a certified tax rate. And so this is a rate that is calculated by the county auditor's office that will give the district the same amount of revenue as the previous year, plus any new growth. It is important to note on here that there is no adjustment made for inflation or any natural increases or even increases that the board may wish without going through a public hearing process that we call Truth-in-Taxation. I do have a chart on the next screen that will probably give some more detail, but what this means is if your property value increases, the tax rate actually lowers to give the district the same amount of money. And I do want to point out that primary homeowners that live in their primary residence do receive a 45% exemption. That does also apply to apartment complexes. The owners do receive that 45% exemption. And then if the board or another entity wishes to receive additional revenue higher than what that county auditor calculation is, that's going through the process of called Truth-in-Taxation, which the board did declare its intent back in June, and it does involve a process of a number of notices and, of course, this hearing tonight. So I think this chart does show the process pretty well. So the baseline property tax budget, as I mentioned, is what the county auditor calculates. And if the value within the district increases, that means the rate goes down so that the district gets the same amount of money. Alternately, if values fall, we all remember 2008, the rate goes up to compensate to give the entity the same amount of money. So looking at what the actual certified tax rate that was calculated is, and just as a reminder, this does not include any increase requests. This is strictly what the county auditor calculated. As you can see in 2025, our rate was 0.001440. Because values have increased, as you can see on that very bottom where it says the average home value, the certified tax rate calculated for 2026 is 0.001423, so it's gone down. However, you will notice the amount generated by that tax rate goes up, and that is because of new growth, which means new businesses, new commercial, new homes that have been built within the district boundaries, which is Herriman City. And then the average home value is provided to us by the county assessor, so it is, according to the assessment records, what the average home value is. If the district was to adopt the certified tax rate, the average tax amount for the average residence, which is $652,000, would be approximately $510. Moving on to the philosophy of the district, So we follow a philosophy of staff that funding that's generated by new growth is restricted from regular property tax, and that funding that has been generated by new growth is restricted for expenditures related to new growth, the largest being officers or other public safety staff needed due to that growth. As you can see, I do have a graphic here showing our base amount of property tax, and there is some other things in there, such as we do receive a motor vehicle fee, we do receive some delinquent property tax payments. So this base plus other doesn't exactly match that other screen, and that's why, because there are a few other things in there. Then there is the growth factor of 522,269. So that is the new revenue the district is receiving due to new homes and businesses, et cetera. Then factoring in a requested increase of 512,970. So that is what staff is recommending the board adopt as the request for an increase in property tax. And then you can see all three of those components make up the total tax amount. And just as a reminder, which it does say at the bottom of the screen, to keep in mind as we go through these screens is the property tax formula does not factor in inflation. It strictly is what the district received the prior year. So moving on, even though this board does not adopt the police department budget directly, I do think it's important to discuss components of the police department budget, which is adopted by the same body as the Herriman City Council. But as you can see on the budget, 82% of the police department's budget is personnel. And we'll get into some components of that in a minute. But a lot of times when discussing a property tax increase, the first thing to consider is cutting expenses. However, when you do have 82% of your budget being personnel, that is a difficult number to cut since that directly impacts the service provided to the residents. As you can see, the orange slice is operating expenses, which is about 1.6 million. I do like to note that our dispatch expense, so the police department contracts for dispatch when you call 911, that's the entity that answers the phone. That is 30% of that operating budget. So already they only have control of 70% of that operating budget. So moving on to justification on why staff is recommending the increase. So as you can see on the personnel side, we do offer a COLA to our officers and civilian staff, which is 3.21%. And how that is measured or evaluated is we look at the CPI as of December of the prior year. So this would be for December of 2025. The reason for that date is it gives staff enough time to use that when calculating the budget for the following year. As you can see, just that COLA alone requires a 2.4% tax increase in order to fund that. In addition, with our sworn officers, they are eligible for a step plan, meaning that there are certain steps or increases that officers will receive with satisfactory performance, of course. As you can see, that to fund that in the following year is a 1% of the tax increase that's being requested. And then finally, there is a merit that is offered to civilian employees and then also command staff that aren't in the STEP program. Chief of Police is a good example of this. As you can see, that because that amount is small, it doesn't actually factor into the tax increase just due to the number. So overall, 3.4% of the tax increase alone is personnel. I do like to highlight, it was a board member direction, if staff was going to recommend an increase above cost of CPI or COLA or just normal inflation to justify it. So one thing, as you can see here, is just with the regular personnel increases, it is already over normal inflation, mostly due to the step increases, as you can see. So on the flip side, I do want to discuss some of the operating adjustments, and I do have to give the chief and his command staff credit, because we did ask them to go back and look at ways to reduce their budget. As we discussed, they do have a small amount that they can adjust that isn't personnel. However, as you can see on this chart, they are recommending a reduction in their general supplies, a reduction in their fuel. There are some increases, as you can see. One of them is dispatch, which the city does have a board member on the dispatch, but they are one of many. So overall, our dispatch is increasing almost 15% from the budget we had the prior year. And then there are some things that are increases, but I do like to highlight, especially software, that is actually saving employee time and is a more efficient use of employee resources. So on the software, it may show a 13% increase, but that actually is saving the police department personnel, because it is automating and making tasks more efficient. And as you can see at the bottom of the requested tax increase, 1.38% is due to operating. So one thing I want to highlight, going back to our property tax philosophy, is we are segregating that new growth money from just regular base funding. So the new growth funding is proposed to fund a commander position, a sergeant position, and then a police officer position in fiscal year 28. And I do have a chart at the bottom showing how we do track and keep those funds restricted. So if everything pans out as projected in fiscal year 28, we would still have $1.5 million in that growth funding. One other item I would like to note, especially for the public, is we have what's called a growth silo model that is used to determine when new officers or new public safety staff are needed. So it isn't an instance of the police chief just saying, I need new people, and then the city council not having data necessarily to back that up. So these are very data-driven decisions on when new officers are meeting, and there's certainly criteria that has to be met. There was a very good discussion last night in last night's city council meeting. This is one of the few times I'd actually encourage people to go listen to it, just to get an idea of the methodology and the amount of attention to detail that's put in on personnel, because both the city council and the police department do understand it's over 80% of their budget. So moving on to a few things that are required by state code to be presented. One is a property tax impact schedule. This was designed to show at a glance what is being requested and how that will affect the average homeowner. So you can see on here, it does show the certified tax rate of 0.001423, the amount of revenue that would generate, and then what staff is asking the board to approve, and then the overall increase of $512,970, which that is a 4.76% increase. And then you can see the estimated yearly increase for an average valued home at $652,000, which would be $24.38 a year. And then it's $44.33 a year for a business valued at the same amount. The reason those are different is because the residential assumes you get that 45% residential tax deduction. We don't have anyone here, but I do want to note there are hard copies of this consolidated tax schedule on the back counter. This is a narrative portion of that tax impact schedule showing the impact of the tax increase. This narrative states that this increase will be used to fund general operating expenses due to growth and other pressures on the budget. It does also say if the proposed tax increase is not approved, what staff's recommendation would be is to draw on those growth funds to backstop the tax increase that was not approved. The long-term ramifications of that is it is possible when the growth model says we need to hire officers, we will not have the funding available to do that. Another required state required slide is this does show all of the tax increases countywide. Once again, this is also in the back of the room. I had to make some modifications, as you can see, to show it on the slide. So this does show in Salt Lake County all of the entities that are requesting a tax increase. I believe that the only one affecting Herriman residents, other than, of course, the Herriman City Fire Service area, is the Central Utah Water Conservancy District. Then finally, I would like to just give a brief overview of our property tax rate history as a reminder for the board. So as you can see, 2018 was the year the police department was formed, and I do show the tax rates. 2023 was the first year a tax increase was adopted by the board, and it was used for new officers, mental health specialists, and just as a note, that has not been filled. And then also a vehicle replacement fund, so we are contributing funds into a vehicle replacement fund every year. 24 did not have a tax increase. We accepted the certified tax rate. And then last year was a 5.3% increase, partially to make up for 24, and then to recognize the inflation for 2025. And then as you can see in 2026, staff's recommending a 4.76% increase, which is made up of 3.4% to cover personnel increases and then 1.36% for other. I do note, just because I do see the chatter online quite a bit, that we would be better off staying with Unified Police Department. I can't say on an operational side if that's true or not, but from a financial side, I did pull their tax rate. As you can see, it's 0.002267, which is 52% higher than what we are proposing as staff tonight for the rate. And once again, the recommendation on the increase, that would put the tax rate at 0.001491, which would generate $11,244,565. And for the average homeowner, that would be $534 a year, which would be a $24 increase over the certified tax rate amount. And with that, are there any questions for me before the public hearing tonight? Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle. Okay, we're going to go on to the public hearing. Like I said, there will be three portions. We're going to do an in-person, and then we will do online comments. We'll look for any online comments. Anybody online right now, John? Steve Brown, okay. If anybody wants to, they will have 2 minutes. You can raise your hand. John will unmute you, and then you can speak, and then you'll have 2 minutes as well. And then after that, we will go to any written comments. Those aren't necessary tonight, but they will be included in the public record, but will not be read aloud during the meeting. So we'll start. We don't have anybody in person, I don't believe. So we'll go online, see if there are any hands raised. Okay. See no comments online or in person. Any written ones that we received? Okay. See no comments, I will look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Motion by Matt,
Second.
second by Teddy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any other comment, or I'll look for a motion?
Wow, that's my comment. This is 11 years now I've sat here. First tax hearing I'm aware of. Look at Chief and a few others that may have been here that long. I don't know of a single tax hearing where there's been zero public input. So I take that as the things we've done the last several years are working, and for the most part, people understand, and we've done a good job communicating, all of us, Jonathan, staff, etc. So
There's a trust out there, I hope.
Yeah, so I'll go launch into explanations and some history and
I was
things.
looking
but
forward
I'll
to it.
spare you all that. There's no one online. I'll just say if anyone wants to talk budget and taxes, I'll be happy to regale you with all the information and tales of past.
I agree.
Mayor, yeah, I was expecting a couple people to chime in tonight or come and visit with us. As Jared reminded me last night that it's always wise to have your tax bill in front of you. I saw you pull yours up as well online, and Matt brought his. We, as a board, don't take raising taxes unintentional or without really serious consequences, and we make sure that we're utilizing the funds and holding the people that are spending the funds accountable for every tax dollar. And it doesn't matter what tax line it's on for the city, the fire, or the police, but every tax dollar is in good stewardship, and we try to make it the best use of that funds. And those following reports from this last week show that. So I'm surprised we don't have any comment, but I hope it is on a trust base and not apathy, and not from people who weren't informed, because I know that we communicate and put that out there in several different paths and ways. So I appreciate Kyle for going through it very detailed, especially exactly where every dollar is being spent and where we are actively cutting in other categories. And hats off to the chief and his department for that. It goes a long ways, so.
I would also second your appreciation or recognition of the silo conversation that we had last night. I know that the police department chief puts a lot of time and effort into that. It makes it very comfortable for me as a city council member to know that these metrics are data-driven, they're backed up, and it is very, very transparent to when we approach those different milestones that we need to hit, and then we have some decisions to make as far as that additional resource that might be needed, and then we've planned for that, and when those resources are needed, we've put aside the money to pay for it. So I appreciate all the hard work that you guys put in to make it transparent and make it easy for us to understand so we can make the decisions. So thank you.
Okay, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve resolution number R26-08, adopting a rate of tax of 0.001491 and levying taxes upon all real and personal property within Herriman City's safety enforcement area.
Motion by Jared,
Second.
second by Teddy. We'll go Jared,
Yes.
Teddy,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Tara,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. That motion carries. Okay, we'll go to 3.1, consideration of a resolution adopting the fiscal year 2027 budget for the Herriman City Safety Enforcement Area. Kyle.
Thank you. Don't worry, I only have one slide on this one. No changes have been made since the tentative budget, but I do want to highlight a couple things just so the board's aware. So one is property tax increase of 9%, which does reflect the growth percentage, and then also the increase that was just approved by you as the board. The miscellaneous, that 100,000 is interest income. So we do credit this fund back for those reserves that we are saving and those new growth funds, and those are added in. And then finally, as part of the transfers out, it's actually bundled in there is the HCC does pay for 40% of the new commander position that was approved. I just want to point that out. And with that, are there any questions for me?
Nope. Appreciate it, Kyle. Look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve resolution number R26-09, adopting a final budget making appropriations for the support of the Herriman City Safety Enforcement Area for the period beginning July 1st, 2026, and ending June 30th, 2027.
Okay, got a motion by Matt,
Second?
second by Jared. We'll go Jared,
Yes.
Teddy.
Yes.
Matt.
Yes.
Tara.
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. That motion carries. Did I miss anything, Jackie? I'm so worried. We're good, right? Did I get everything? Okay. Okay, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, everybody. We will return at 6 o'clock.
7.
7. Oh, my gosh. We'll return at 7.
You serious?
for it on my watch. Oh, there it is. Okay. We're good? Okay, welcome back. We are going to resume now with our Herriman City Fire Service area agenda meeting. Oh my gosh, the Herriman City Fire Service meeting tonight. Again, like our previous one, this will be a public hearing consisting of 3 parts, an in-person, an online, and then any written comments. So we will start with 2.1, public hearing and consideration of a resolution adopting a property tax rate that exceeds the certified tax rate. Kyle.
Thank you. So the agenda is similar to the HCC meeting where we'll review the basics of property tax, look over the certified tax rate as calculated by Salt Lake County, and then staff's recommendations, and of course the public hearing, any discussion the board may have, and then action tonight. So with the basics, we did go over this in the HCC meeting. I do just want to reiterate how property tax works in the state is the taxing entity receives the same amount of tax revenues the prior year plus any new growth, so there is no adjustment for inflation. If a entity requests or desires additional revenue, they have to go through a process called Truth-in-Taxation, which does have a series of steps that are required, including, of course, this meeting, this public hearing tonight, and then a lot of noticing requirements. As you can see on this graph, how it works is if a property value increases, the rate actually will decrease to give the entity the same amount of funding. Alternately, if a home value decreases, the rate increases to compensate to give the entity the same amount of money. So looking at the certified tax rate, as you can see in 2026, the value as calculated is 0.001334, which will generate a little over $9 million of revenue for the district. Same with the HCC, our average home value is $652,000. Last year, as you can see, our average home value was $640,000, and we had a little under $8.6 million in revenue. So that additional $450,714 is due to new growth, meaning new homes, new businesses, new commercial entities within the city. Just a quick snapshot of our member fee from Unified Fire Authority. As of course the board knows, the residents should know, we contract out our fire service with Unified Fire Authority. We do pay a member fee to them each year. So you can see on the graph our member fee over time since 2021. This year, the adopted member fee was $5,890,706, which is an increase of $205,556, excuse me. The chart on the bottom right does show the increase over time from 2021 forward. One of the items that is required by state code this year is just a review of our property tax impact statement. This was required to try to give residents an overview of what is being asked with the tax increase. So you can see it does have the current tax rate as calculated by Salt Lake County, the amount of revenue generated with that certified tax rate of $9 million, and then the requested amount staff is recommending of $205,560. So that is an increase of 2.23% of our overall tax revenue. So the impact on an average residence is $10.76 per year. For a business valuated at the same amount is $19.56 per year. Just as a reminder, we do have both this impact statement and then a consolidated schedule of property tax proposed property tax increases in the back on the counter. The second page of the tax impact statement is a narrative explaining why the tax increase is needed. The main reason being our member fee assessment with Unified Fire is going up $205,556. If the tax increase is not adopted, What the ramifications will be is there will be less funding available in the future for anticipated fire stations that will be needed, which will require the district to go through bonding to build those stations or bond in a greater amount. Once again, I won't spend too much time on this because we do have hard copies in the back and this is a little difficult to read. This does list out all of the county-wide tax increases. For Salt Lake County, as I noted, the only one that I believe affects Herriman residents is the Central Utah Water Conservancy District, which is the third one down. Looking at the fund balance for the HCFSA, as you can see, we are anticipating a fund balance of about $8.3 million, a little under that. This does factor in the Station 103 rebuild that is in progress right now. And just to give you an idea of the scale of some of these projects, so that project budget is $8.3 million. We did not have to purchase land for that rebuild. That is also an important factor, as the board certainly knows, but land can run in the millions of dollars to purchase, so it is quite a hefty expense. We do long-range models as part of the budget process. We do anticipate 2 additional stations being needed. And I did pull the typical operating cost from UFA's recently adopted budget. So it is about $3.3 million to operate a station. That, of course, depends on the size of the station and then what crews are being used at the station. So that is not a hard and fast number. Our projections do show for the next station we'll need some partial bonding for that. However, part of it we will be able to pay in cash with reserves. Right now for the 2033 station, which that date of course is to be determined, we would need to fully bond for that. Just a quick note on the proposed budget. As you can see on operating, the majority of that is our member fee assessment. We do include in there some noticing requirements, and then we do receive invoices from UFA for when the firefighters participate in SWAT training and exercises. You will notice on here we are anticipating contributing about $3.5 million to fund balance, and as I mentioned, that is for future stations to lessen the impact down the road. Finally, looking at the certified tax rate and then what staff is proposing, we are following board direction as staff, making small increases over time to keep that purchasing power of tax revenue the same, since inflation is not factored into that calculation of the certified tax rate in our revenue. That fire assessment increase is not right. Apparently, I forgot to hit save. It is the 205,560. As you can see, the tax rate is estimated, if approved, the tax rate would increase 2.2%. For the average homeowner, that would be an $11 a year increase. And with that, are there any questions for me before the public hearing? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Okay, at this point, we'll follow the same process as before. We will do anything in person, then we'll go to online, and then we will check for any written ones. So we will start with any in-person comments.
All eyes on you, Ron.
All eyes on Ron. Okay, seeing no comments, we will look to online. Nobody's online at this point. Okay. And we will then, no written, I'm assuming either then. Okay. So seeing no comments, I will look for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. I'll look for a motion.
Make a quick comment first.
Yes, absolutely.
And I should have made the same comment in the last meeting for the police department. In case anybody watches a recording of this, because nobody's watching right now apparently. We've had many, many meetings leading up to this. This isn't just a meeting to increase taxes. We've started the budget process. Basically this time last year, Nathan and staff have started bringing us budget information every meeting beginning in January. So the budget is what's driven this, and we've had those discussions at length leading up to this. So this isn't just a, hey, we're gonna do this sort of meeting. So we've had that leading up to this for 6 months or something. If you guys are all right, making a motion?
Yep.
All right, so motion to approve resolution number R09-26, adopting a rate of tax of 0.001364 and levying taxes upon all real and personal property within Herriman City Fire Service Area.
Motion by Jared. Second by Tara. We'll go Tara? Matt?
Yes.
Teddy?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. That motion carries. Go to 3.1, consideration of a resolution adopting the fiscal year 2027 budget for the Herriman City Fire Service Area. Kyle?
Thank you. We did just look at this, so I won't spend too much time on this, but it does show property tax of $9,389,040. That does include some other items that we do receive as part of property tax, including motor vehicle, delinquent property tax, called redemption, and interest on that. And I do want to note the miscellaneous is when we did separate from the Unified Fire Service Area, they are paying back a portion of the fund balance we are owed over a number of years for that. And then the transfers out of $91,160 is 25% of the commander position. That is in the police department. Other reason the fund is paying for that is because that commander position has emergency management duties. Are there any questions for me?
One question. So HCC is paying 40% of the commander position and then 25% from FCHC or the fire. That's not 100%. So who's coming up with the remainder?
The general fund.
Okay.
There's other tasks like we talked about, like, yeah. Yep. That come out of general. Okay, perfect.
I should know this, but how many years have we actually been collecting since we separated from UFSA? So our own taxing district. Is this 3 full years? Or are we going on 4 now?
I believe it's 4, but I will need a double check.
So I think we're going on 4.
The first year, there was that brought into the city's general government, and then we transferred it out. There was that.
This
and that was
is
the first year I
actually the
was here.
5th.
My first truth, it was, yeah, the swap back when it looked like a very large increase.
The reason I'm asking is just, I want to circle back around to, this is the budget. So while we haven't adopted a firm policy like we have with the police department and our silo growth model, we are in practice using the same kind of budget strategy regarding growth. So we're not spending the new growth money that is going towards the cost of building new stations, right? That growth is going to demand. So since we separated from UFSA and kept those dollars here, that's to the tune of at least every year it's going up a little bit, but a couple $1 million a year, which is why we've been able to pay cash for the rebuild of this station. That's just from the savings we've had in the couple of years that we separated to do our own taxing district.
Correct.
So we're doing everything that we can to help control our tax dollars, the way that they're spent, et cetera. So looking forward, we know that that new growth is going to need 2 more stations, so we're just calculating what, it really just depends on when we need them to come online. If we can get, if it makes sense to, say, push them out a little bit farther and we can collect that extra revenue for another year or 2 to put in the same kind of pay for the station, that helps with the need to have a bond. When we put a new station online, though, that takes that operating that Kyle mentioned of roughly $3 million a year just to operate the station. That's what once it's built, now we got to pay to put engines and people in it. We don't save that money anymore for the next one. So just know that we're actively planning that, not just now, but looking down the road, and really appreciate the work that you guys are doing on that, Kyle. Motion to approve resolution number R10-26, adopting a final budget, making appropriations for the support of the Herriman City Fire Service Area for the period beginning July 1st, 2026 and ending June 30th, 2027.
Second?
Motion by Jared, second by Teddy. Jared?
Yes.
Teddy?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Tara?
Yes.
I'll vote yes, that motion carries. Okay, look for motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
You guys didn't have to listen to my tax spiel or what it was in